Epic Universe has so much to offer, it can be hard to get everything done in a single day. Hello everybody, welcome. Today we are going to talk about the optimal paths and my highest recommendations to help you get the most out of your trips to this brand new park. Epic Universe has 11 attractions, 2 shows, 28 restaurants, 6 dedicated meet and greets, and 15 stores to choose from. And for most of you, this will be your first time ever seeing this park. So knowing what to do and where to go to get the most out of your experience can be really difficult. Today we're going to cover what I believe are the optimal paths for you to take upon arrival based on all of my experiences and all my visits to the park. And I want to note that I am not going to use any in-park footage in this video. I'm going to try to keep it to concept and visuals only because I don't want to spoil the park for a lot of you who are planning your visit. So a few of the paths we're going to talk about on this video are going to be based around a couple of variables. Number one, we're going to look at paths for if Battle with the Ministry is on virtual queue or not on virtual queue. And number two, we're going to look at paths based on whether you have early entry, early access into the park, or do not have early access. Because those variables are going to affect what your optimal path will be around the park to make sure you get the most out of your visit without having to wait in extremely long lines. We'll also talk a little bit about your intensity level and if you're really into high intensity rides versus low intensity rides. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my recommendations on things that you might not want to do or you might want to skip or postpone till later depending on your preferences. And based on my experiences and what I think is the most worthwhile things to do and maybe things that aren't as worthwhile to do. Okay, so all these recommendations are going to be based on my personal opinion and visits and experiences at the park, but also the data that talks about wait times, when wait times will be the highest throughout the days. And so I'm basically building my paths around those wait times and my experiences to make sure that they are the optimal paths. So let's get started. Very first thing, number one, for all these paths, you're going to want to eat breakfast before you go to the park. Don't waste time eating breakfast in the park because getting there right at opening is the best time to get as many things done as possible before the park gets completely overloaded and crowded. Spending time sitting down and eating breakfast or even finding a place to grab breakfast is going to burn tons of time. So my number one recommendation starting out for all these paths, get breakfast and eat it before you arrive, or grab like a Pop-Tart or something and eat it while you're in line, but don't waste time eating breakfast at the park. All right, so let's take a look at the map just so you can get your bearings. Right there at the very bottom, you see the sort of entry portal area. This is the official Universal Orlando Epic Universe map. As you enter in, you have Celestial Park, which is the big center area. Over there on the left at the very beginning, you have Super Nintendo World. As you go up higher, you have Dark Universe. Then you have Helios Grand in the back. As you go around, you're going to meet Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the Ministry of Magic. And in between Ministry of Magic and the next land, you'll see Stardust Racers right there. And then right below Stardust Racers, that is How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. So let's fade all that out so then we can start to overlay the arrows and the graphics and stuff. And you can see those in finer detail. So the very first path I want to talk about is for people who have early entry into the park. This is that 1 hour early entry. If you are staying at a Universal Orlando Resort hotel, you get in an hour earlier than anybody else for the park. Now this is not for opening day. There is no early entry on opening day, but every day after this will apply. In addition, this path is going to be for no virtual line for Battle with the Ministry. So assuming early entry and no virtual line is happening for Battle with the Ministry, this will be the optimal path. So starting out there at the park, the very first thing you're going to want to do at 9 o'clock as it opens is go to Super Nintendo World. That is the first place you should go. For early entry, you only have access to Super Nintendo World and Stardust Racers. Now you would say, wait, what if I want to do Stardust Racers? Why shouldn't I go there? Trust me, you don't want to go to Stardust Racers. Do not waste your time going there first, no matter how badly you want to ride it. Go to Super Nintendo World. This is a critical point you have to follow if you want to get the most out of your path. Starting at Super Nintendo World, you're going to want to hit Minecart Madness first, and then you're going to want to hit Bowser's Challenge, the Mario Kart ride there. My recommendation is Minecart Madness first because it has so many issues. It has a lot of problems. You're going to want to do that one before the Mario Kart ride. Trust me. Now, if you really have your heart set on Mario Kart, go ahead and do that one first and then Minecart. But you may not get to do both of them if you go in that order. This is based on what I believe the wait times will be as the park opens. These wait times can skyrocket throughout the day. But right at the end, early entry, go to those rides. The next thing is skip Yoshi's. Do not do it. Skip it. We can do that one later. Don't waste your time on doing Yoshi. Don't waste your time spending a lot of time doing pictures and hanging out in Super Nintendo World and checking out all the cool stuff there. Don't waste your time doing that right now. Hit Mario Kart Madness, then Bowser's Challenge, the Mario Kart ride, and then you're out. So this is an important point right here. The time frame you should be at here is between 9:45 and 10 o'clock. Yes, you should be able to get Minecart Madness and Bowser's Challenge all done within the first hour if you do it fast enough. And now if it is crazy busy and you just weren't near the front of the line and you took a little bit too long getting there, it could slow you down a bit and you're not going to be able to get both of those two attractions done at once. You may have to come back later and get the other attraction done. But what you're going to want to pay attention to is the time. When you get off one or both of those rides at 9:45, you need to move from Super Nintendo World over to the Ministry of Magic. So at this point, you're going to be waiting in line to get into the Ministry of Magic. It will not be open by 9:45. You won't be, or if it is open, you can go into the land and you're going to get in line for Battle with the Ministry immediately. Now that line's probably going to be pretty long by then because you have other people who have been going straight to it because they want to ride it, but it's not open until 10. So you've gotten a few Super Nintendo things and you're going to go over to Battle with the Ministry. That's your next stop. And you're going to want to get in line for that. Hopefully you get there before the park opens to the public and all those people get in line for Battle with the Ministry. You want to get as much done in Super Nintendo World as you can while still getting enough time to get in line for Battle with the Ministry before the park opens. This is an important point. So if you've done this correctly, hopefully you won't have had to waste 5 hours in line for Battle with the Ministry. You've been able to get it done within the first 30 minutes to an hour. So around 10:30 to 11 o'clock, you're going to want to head now to Hiccup's Wing Gliders in How to Train Your Dragon. That's the next area to go to. Don't spend a lot of time looking around in the Ministry of Magic and the all of that area. Don't spend time. Hit the ride and then move on. Trust me, we'll be back. And then spend the next couple of hours enjoying the dragon area. So I know we've been zipping it along here and moving really quickly, but this is your first point to just kind of chill, relax, and enjoy the area. So from around 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, just enjoy How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. Check out all the meet and greets there, catch the Untrainable Dragon show while you're there, maybe ride Fire Drill or Dragon Racers Rally, and grab your lunch while you're in this area. Now they do have amazing mac and cheese cones there for a snack or for a light lunch, or if you want to go in and grab something like from the Mead Hall or the Spitfire Grill, I would recommend eating lunch in How to Train Your Dragon land. That's where I would spend time until about 2 o'clock. You should be able to get a lot of stuff done in those 3 hours. Pretty much the entire land dedicated for 3 hours, you'll get a lot done. At 2 o'clock, you're going to want to now head to Stardust Racers. If you want to ride it maybe 2 times, this is the right time to go. Around 2 o'clock, hit Stardust Racers, get it done. You'll have time to do it a second time at night if you follow this path. If you don't want to ride Stardust Racers, that's fine. We'll move on to the next spot. So 2 o'clock Stardust Racers, and then after Stardust Racers, that should take you maybe in half an hour to an hour, depending on the wait time. It shouldn't be more. So at 3 o'clock, you're going to want to spend about an hour just doing some general exploration. Enjoy Celestial Park, maybe do the Constellation Carousel, do a little bit of light shopping. Don't spend too much time on shopping now. I'll talk about that later. Maybe grab a snack if you're hungry again, and maybe head back over to Super Nintendo World and spend some time doing Yoshi's Adventure, doing some of the other activities that Super Nintendo World. This is your time to do some pictures and things in this space. Or you could potentially spend that time riding the other attraction, Mario Kart or Minecart Madness, if you weren't able to get both done before heading to Battle with the Ministry. Now at 4 o'clock, you're going to spend the next 2 hours in Dark Universe. You're going to want to spend time doing the meet and greets, exploring the land, hop into Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, and do Curse of the Werewolf if you can also get that in. You've got about a little bit more than 2 hours to spend time in this land. Should be plenty of time. Monsters Unchained doesn't typically get higher than 30 to 60 minutes on average. Even when the park is crazy busy, I've seen 15-minute waits for Frankensteins, no big deal. Curse of the Werewolf can get a little bit longer because it has low capacity, but you should be able to get all that done in 2 hours. Now at 6 o'clock, you're going to want to hop back over to the Ministry of Magic. So we're now making a loop here. We're going over to Ministry of Magic. This is your time to catch Le Cirque Arcanu, the show in that space. This is your time to grab dinner. So you could grab dinner in Dark Universe if you wanted to before you head over to the Ministry of Magic, or you could grab dinner in the Ministry of Magic area somewhere. But again, spend time exploring, maybe doing some of the wand experiences. This is your time to play and enjoy that land. Then at 8 o'clock, you've got the next couple of hours, depending on what time the park closes, between 9 and 10. You've got a couple of hours to do some repeat rides. This is your time to do Stardust Racers again at nighttime, which is a different experience. This is your time to head back over to Dark Universe and explore what it looks like at nighttime. This is also when you can maybe catch the water show there in Celestial Park, and also potentially fireworks and drone show if they decide to activate that. We know that's coming, and you know we're going to have that for grand opening. Don't know what we're going to get after grand opening, but expect fireworks at some point. So this is that sort of 2-hour window of time for you to just kind of enjoy those. So if you followed that path and you had early access, you should have gotten everything done. Now, I will talk a little bit about some recommendations that I didn't cover in this path at the end once I get through all the other paths, because those are important. There's some recommendations I want to make sure you follow, and they're going to be for every path. The next path is going to be for early entry with the virtual line happening for Battle with the Ministry. It's going to change some things. So starting out there at the bottom, you've got early entry again. So at 9 o'clock a.m., as soon as the park opens, you're once again going to do the same thing. You're going to go to the Super Nintendo World and get as much done there as you humanly possibly can. Again, at 9:45 to 10 o'clock, it's time to move now to Stardust Racers. So we're not going to go over to the Ministry of Magic. We're going to go to Stardust Racers, and we're going to get that done right now. Get it out of the way before, hopefully, the park opens. So if you can get a couple of things at Super Nintendo World done, and then head over to Stardust Racers and get in line, just get in line right before that 10 o'clock mark, before the rest of the crowd surges in, that's going to be optimal for you. So get in Stardust Racers, you can get that done really quickly. Now at 10:30, again, going to head over to the Hiccups Wing Gliders and the How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. You're going to follow the same thing as the previous path. Enjoying that dragon area, all the food, meet and greets, grab lunch there. Now the important thing here is you got to pay attention to your time. So if you're in line for Hiccups Wing Gliders, or you're getting ready to do something else, right at 11 o'clock currently, the virtual line could change the times. Currently, at 11 o'clock, you're going to want to watch for that. You got to be careful, and then make sure you try to get that virtual line for Battle with the Ministry at 11. Now at 2 o'clock for the next couple of hours, again, going to want to go over to Super Nintendo World, maybe explore that a little bit. This is your time to grab Yoshi's and maybe do the other attraction that you weren't able to get done. Do some exploration, some meet and greets, maybe do Constellation Carousel. But at 3 o'clock, you got to pay attention for the virtual line again if it's in play for 3 o'clock, and you're going to want to be sure to try to get that. Now at 4 o'clock, you're going to head to Dark Universe, do some meet and greets there, try to get the attraction, spend the next couple of hours there. Definitely look at the wait times. If Curse of the Werewolf is a little bit lower versus Monsters, do that one first. Whichever one has a lower wait time, do that one first, and then go and do the other one after that. At 6 o'clock, head over to the Ministry of Magic. Again, watch for the virtual line. Don't forget, 6 o'clock virtual line could be in play. And hopefully by then, you've scored the virtual line for Battle with the Ministry. And by 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, you can ride Battle with the Ministry, do Le Cirque Arcanu, grab dinner, etc. So I've left space in this entire path here, this entire itinerary, for when you get the Battle with the Ministry. If you end up getting Battle with the Ministry for 2 o'clock or 5 or 4 or 9 o'clock at night, I've left space in this path to account for that. Just go to that attraction and ride it when your virtual line is called, and then get back onto the path. And then from 8 o'clock till close, you've got time again, once again, to see things at nighttime, do some rides that you want to do repeats of, watch the water shows, and do the fireworks. All right, so now we've moved into the paths for no early entry, no virtual line, okay? So No early entry. This means you're getting in at 10 o'clock if that's what time it opens for you on your day. So this is going to be really tough. With no early entry, it's going to be tough to get everything done. You're going to probably make some choices, but it's not impossible to get everything done. This is the optimal path for that. Starting right at 10 o'clock a.m., if there's no virtual queue, as soon as you enter in the park, no matter how much you want to ride or do something, no matter what it is, my recommendation is go straight to Battle with the Ministry. The very first thing, as soon as the gates open, go straight to Battle with the Ministry if you want to experience this attraction. If you don't, you're going to save yourself a ton of time for the rest of the park. If you decide, I'm okay not riding it, you'll get a lot more done. But if you just got to ride it, Battle with the Ministry's got to be your first stop. And I'm allocating 2 to 3 hours for that particular attraction and getting it done in the beginning of the day, if you go right then. So there's currently no express pass for that line. So the people who have early access are only going to have a small advantage over you in getting in this line, because a lot of them will be experiencing Super Nintendo World and only some of them will be going to get in line for Battle with the Ministry early entry. So there shouldn't be a ton of people in front of you if you go straight there. Once Battle with the Ministry is done, it's probably going to be lunchtime, to be honest. Already at lunchtime at this point, so you're going to want to grab lunch in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter area. This is also your time to explore the Wizarding World and have a good time and enjoy it and look at the wand experiences and the shops and everything. You could spend time there. I would recommend skipping Le Cirque Arcanu for now. You can try to get it in later in the day. So at 1 o'clock, you're going to head over to the Isle of Berk, How to Train Your Dragon. You're going to have a couple of hours between 1 and 3 o'clock to spend time getting Hiccup's Wing Gliders done. Some of the other attractions that are there, the meet and greets and the Untrainable Dragon Show, this is the time to do that. At 3 o'clock, my recommendation is to head over to Stardust Racers and get that done. So you'll still be kind of in that area. Just head right over to Stardust Racers, get it done. At 4 o'clock, we're finally getting over to Super Nintendo World. Again, Super Nintendo World in the morning is going to be packed, but by the time we get to later in the day, it should start to clear out, and all the people who have been going there and just running to get there and they're super interested in Super Nintendo World, that's all going to start to die down. The wait times are going to get a little bit better. So 4 o'clock is the time to do Super Nintendo World, get Minecart Madness and the Mario Kart ride done. I would look at whichever one has the lowest wait time and do that one first and then do the other one next. At 6 o'clock, you're going to head over to Dark Universe. It also could be dinner time at this point. So you can grab dinner in Super Nintendo World before you head out to Dark Universe, or you can grab dinner once you're in Dark Universe. Then get the attractions done at Dark Universe, both of the big rides there, attractions, do the meet and greets, sort of explore. You're going to want to get that done now. As it starts to get later, a lot of the meet and greets go away. And then the last couple of hours in the park, once again, we're back to repeat rides, anything that you didn't get to do in the earlier part of the day, or watch the fireworks and the water shows. Now, the last big path I want to talk about is no early entry and virtual queue for Battle at the Ministry or virtual line. This one's going to be pretty much the same as the last path. I would just go by what I said in the last path, except move everything up 2 hours. So those couple of hours you would have burned for Battle at the Ministry right at the top there, take that out of the equation and just basically bump everything up 2 hours. So you'll be 2 to 3 hours ahead of all the times that are on the previous path. And then obviously be continuing to try to get the virtual line while you're there throughout the day. And when you do get it, just sort of fit that into your schedule accordingly. So those are the big paths I wanted to go through. I have also linked the paths themselves so you can download them, put them on your phone so you can look at them at any time when you're in the park to kind of remember the agenda. I put that down there in the description. You should be able to find the links there for it. But I want to talk now about some high-level recommendations I'm going to make sure you get the most out of your time regardless of your paths. I recommend you skip. If you're going to skip anything, these are the top attractions and shows I recommend just skipping to save yourself a little bit of time. First, Le Cirque Arcanu. It's the weaker of the two shows, and it's not a bad show, but it's the weaker of the two. I would skip that. Constellation Carousel, Yoshi's Adventure, Fire Drill, and Dragon Racers Rallies are probably the biggest attractions I would recommend sort of skipping or holding aside until you have some free time to do those if you're trying to save time and make sure you get the most important things done. I would also recommend skipping the sit-down restaurants. Don't do the Atlantic, don't do Blue Dragon, skip those. It's going to save you a ton of time not having to do those. If you absolutely just have to do a sit-down restaurant, Blue Dragon I think is the better of the two options. That one is pretty good. It is an awesome restaurant, but again, I recommend just skipping them for your first time in the park. If you have a second day in the park, maybe that's when I would recommend doing the sit-down restaurants. which means you're going to want to eat at some of the fast casual sort of restaurants, the ones where you do have, it is sort of a table service. You do get like a sit down experience, but it moves really quickly and it's not the same table service as Atlantic and Blue Dragon. So my strongest recommendations for those are going to be the Mead Hall, which is fantastic, Pizza Moon, which I think might be the best theme park pizza that I've ever had, Oak and Star Tavern, which is pretty good barbecue food, Toadstool Cafe, just from an experiential perspective and the variety of food. So if you have picky eaters, it's a pretty good one. And lastly would be Das Steakhouse, which is a cool experience as well. And they have some decent food. So depending on what area of the park you're in, when you eat lunch or dinner, you can kind of plan accordingly. Those are probably the top restaurants that I would recommend eating at. I also recommend skipping shopping in Celestial Park in the stores there. It's fine to go ahead and hit like a shop in Super Nintendo World or in Dark Universe or whatnot when you're in those areas and you have a little bit of time. Go ahead and do those. But Celestial Park, especially the stores at the entrance area, I would recommend doing any shopping in those until the park closes. I didn't say when the park is almost closed. Wait until the park is completely closed, because those stores stay open for maybe an hour or even longer, even after the park closes. So you can kind of hang out, get everything done, and when the park is closed, head to those shops, do all your shopping. There's a lot of great merchandise in there. There's some snacks and treats. There's a great Moonship chocolate factory there. Is great, has lots of cool snacks and stuff in there. Do all that after the park closes to get some extra time to spend doing other things in the park when that park is open. Well, the other thing I want to mention about virtual lines is currently there isn't a virtual line. If it does come back for Battle with the Ministry, I am expecting it to have more times than it's had during previews. Currently it was 11, 3, and 6 o'clock. Doesn't make any sense. There absolutely should be a virtual line time before the park even opens. So being able to get the virtual line at, say, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., sometime earlier, because otherwise, if you can't even get your first virtual line till 11 a.m., what are they doing with the ride between the hours of 9 and 11? Nothing. And so Battle with the Ministry needs to be open when the park opens at 10 o'clock for that land. So there needs to be a virtual line drop earlier than what they've been giving in previews. So be watching for that if it goes back on virtual line and you want to ride that attraction. Don't just assume it's 11, 3, and 6. They could add earlier times so you can head straight there when the park opens. So those are my biggest recommendations. Those are my past. Love to hear from you. Again, this is all based on wait times, all based on my experience and what's worth doing, what's not worth doing. Love to hear from you in the comments. Anything you think I got wrong, let me know down there as well. I'll be there on opening day. Anyhow, thanks again so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. Share it with all your friends because this can help them get the most out of their trip. And until I see you next time, the no way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.